Jimmy Lee, and in Chinese is Li Wensan. I found out about my Hakkaness when I was in France as a student. I met some Chinese from China, not from Taiwan first. And these Chinese people look like so much more Chinese than the other students from Tahiti. They think of us are just like the Polynesian people. We play the guitar, we are laughing a lot, but what they didn't know, but we also work very hard for our studies. In fact, when I came back from France and stayed in Tahiti, I found out that my community didn't care too much about their culture. They thought it was not necessary to talk about being Chinese. We are Chinese. What do you mean? And they say, well, we went to French school. We studied in France. Many of us don't know how to speak Hakka, and we want to learn about our Chinese culture. Who is going to teach us? No need to teach you Chinese culture. We're here to become very not wealthy, but we have to succeed in our business in order to become self-sufficient, because we're still Chinese. We are not French, we are not Polynesian. And I have to remind everybody that in 1973, the French government decided to give the Chinese people in Tahiti the French citizenship. And after 1973, we all become French citizens. So, when we became French citizens, then we have the time to think about our culture. And the first thing about the Chinese students who come back from France is to tell their own people, you have to live like a Hakka. What is to be like a Hakka? And so the first thing we did was to write a book about our community. Of course, the book was written in French. We don't know any other language. And the first thing we do also is to organize the Chinese New Year every year in Papeete. And because of that, the Chinese community became aware that they are not French, that they are not Polynesian. They have to count on themselves to survive. And so since that date, since that year in 73, the Chinese community became very much integrated the year and year passing, and they become more and more French, more and more Polynesian. That's why, since our schools, Chinese schools, have been closed in 1964, so where can we learn Chinese? Nowhere. It has been very much later in the French schools that they could teach Mandarin, which is not Hakka. We are Hakka. And so I can talk a little bit Hakka because when I was young, as a kid, I speak to my parents and my grandparents, and with the older people, do some Hakka very easy, very to understand. And to this day, my vocabulary in Hakka stayed that way. I can go to the marketplace and speak to the Chinese people in Hakka, but there is no way I can write, there is no way I can read. And this has been to me very difficult. So it has been always my goal to tell my community we are different. We are Chinese in a country that is not Chinese. So we have to learn all the ways to survive, to earn our money, to belong to the community, and to survive. So we become more and more integrated. I know some people in Taiwan or in China says, you are different kind of Hakka. Yes, we are different kind of Hakka. When I was 13, with plenty of other students, we were sent to France to study French civilization, to study French history. Like I told you, I know more French history, better French history than my own history. And to these days, whenever, fortunately, they have now movies about the Chinese dynasties, how the country evolved. But it's not taught in colleges and in higher education. We have to learn by ourselves. So even things like calligraphy, we had only a few people who know how to calligraphy, and it's so much difficult that plenty of people, plenty of young people, they say no, it's no use. But my master in calligraphy said, if something is easy, there is no need to learn. Once something is difficult, and when you master it, then that is the merit. And so I listen, and so I write, and I write.